The great crystal towers of Vithara Prime reached high into the purple sky. Inside the largest tower, beings from 47 different worlds sat in a giant circle. This was the Galactic Council, and they met only once every 1,000 years. The meeting hall was huge. Some aliens floated in the air, others crawled on many legs, and some looked almost like trees. They all spoke different languages, but special machines made everyone understand each other. At the center of the hall stood the HFY. These beings were older than most stars. Their bodies looked like living crystal, and they moved very slowly. When they spoke, their voices sounded like wind through caves. Elder Zilthara stepped forward. She was the oldest of all the HFY. Her crystal body had turned almost black with age. When she spoke, the entire hall became quiet. "Fellow beings of the galaxy," she said, "I bring you a warning from the ancient times. There is a new species that will change everything we know." Many aliens in the crowd looked bored. The HFY always talked about old things and warnings. Most species thought they were too old and scared of everything new. "Tell us, Ancient One," said Admiral Kresh from the Draconian Empire. His voice was deep and mean. "What tiny species has scared you this time?" Zilthara's crystal eyes glowed brighter. "They call themselves humans. They live on the third planet around a yellow star called Sol. Right now they cannot even travel between stars. But I tell you this, they are different from all others." The crowd started to whisper and laugh. How could a species that could not even leave their home planet be dangerous? "These humans," Zilthara continued, "do not think like us. When we see a wall, we accept it as there. When they see a wall, they ask why it exists. When we find limits, we respect them. When they find limits, they try to break them." A tall blue alien from the Kalari Consortium stood up. "Elder, with respect, every young species thinks they can change the galaxy. They all learn their place in time." "No," Zilthara said firmly. "You do not understand. I have lived for 50 million years. I have watched 1,000 species rise and fall. Most accept their role in the galaxy. Some fight for a while, then give up. But there are others. Very few others. They never stop trying. They never accept defeat. They always find another way." The crystal being pointed one long finger toward the ceiling. "The humans are like those others. They will not stop. They cannot stop. It is not in their nature to stop." Admiral Kresh laughed loudly. "You want us to fear a species that has not even built one starship? Our empire has conquered hundreds of worlds. Our weapons can destroy planets. What could these humans possibly do to us?" Other aliens joined in the laughter. The Zephyrian trade union leader shook his many heads. "Perhaps the HFY have finally grown too old. These humans probably do not even know we exist." But Zilthara did not seem upset by their laughter. She had expected this reaction. "I have given you the warning as my duty requires. When the time comes, remember my words. The humans will not be stopped by walls, rules, or limits. They will find a way around, through or over every obstacle you put in front of them." She paused and looked around the great hall. "And when they do, the galaxy as we know it will end." Far away from the crystal towers of Vithara Prime, on a small blue planet called Earth, Dr. Hyunwoo worked late in his laboratory. He was studying something called quantum physics, the way very tiny particles behaved. Hyunwoo had black hair and tired eyes from working too many hours. He wore a white coat covered in coffee stains. His desk was messy with papers, books, and half-eaten sandwiches. "The numbers are wrong again," he said to himself. He had been trying to solve the same problem for 3 years. Everyone said faster than light travel was impossible. The math proved it could not work. But Hyunwoo did not like the word impossible. In Korea, his grandmother had always told him, "If one path is blocked, make a new path." His colleague, engineer So Young, walked into the lab. She carried 2 cups of hot coffee and looked just as tired as Hyunwoo. "Still working on the space folding problem?" she asked. "The space folding approach does not work," Hyunwoo said. "But what if we are thinking about this wrong? What if we do not fold space? What if we make tiny holes in it instead?" So Young sat down and looked at his equations. She was very good with machines and understood how things worked. Quantum tunneling on a large scale, that should be impossible. Should be, Hyunwoo smiled. But should be and is are different things. They worked together through the night. On the computer screen, numbers danced and changed. Slowly, very slowly, a new idea began to form. Meanwhile, in space stations around other stars, different aliens went about their normal lives. The Draconian Empire trained their soldiers. The Kalari Consortium counted their money. The Zephyrian Trade Union moved goods between worlds. None of them thought about Earth or humans. Why would they? Humans were just another primitive species that would probably destroy themselves before they ever reached the stars. Back on Vethera Prime, the Galactic Council meeting was ending. The different species were returning to their ships and preparing to go home. They would not meet again for another 1,000 years. Zilthera stood alone in the empty hall. Other Vethai approached her. They moved slowly like walking diamonds. "Why did you warn them?" asked another elder named Morthak. "They will not listen. They never listen." "Because it is our duty," Zilthara replied. "Our people have survived 50 million years because we remember the lessons of the past. We have seen the unstoppable ones before." "The humans are like the progenitors?" Morthak asked with worry in his crystal voice. "Different, but similar. The progenitors changed the galaxy through force. The humans will change it through curiosity. Both are equally dangerous to the old ways." Zilthara looked up at the stars through the crystal ceiling. Somewhere out there, humans were probably asking questions, building things, and refusing to accept limits. "Prepare the deep archives," she told Morthak. "When the humans emerge, we will need the old protocols. The galaxy is about to change, whether the others want it to or not." On Earth, Hyunwoo and So-young finally stopped working as the sun came up. They had not solved faster than light travel yet, but they had found something interesting, a tiny crack in what everyone thought was impossible. "We should test this," So-young said, looking at their equations. "Yes," Hyunwoo agreed. "Even if it does not work, we will learn something new." Neither of them knew that their curiosity would soon change the entire galaxy. They were just two, humans doing what humans do best, refusing to accept that something could not be done. The elders had warned the stars, but the stars were not listening. And somewhere in the quantum foam between dimensions, reality began to bend just a little bit, preparing for the day when humans would refuse to accept the impossible. 3 years had passed since the Galactic Council meeting. The alien species had forgotten about the Vethai warning. They were busy with their normal lives, trading goods and fighting small wars. On Earth, everything had changed. Captain Jin-ho stood on the bridge of the UES Determination, humanity's first faster-than-light spaceship. He was a tall man with short black hair and calm eyes. His uniform was simple, dark blue with silver buttons. "Status report," Jin-ho said to his crew. "All systems working properly, Captain," replied Navigator Taemin. "The quantum tunnel drive is running smoothly. We should reach the target system in 2 hours." Jin-ho nodded. The new drive system worked differently than anything aliens used. Instead of folding space like other species, humans had learned to punch tiny holes through reality itself. It was dangerous and should have been impossible. But it worked. Dr. Hyunwoo and engineer So-young had built the first prototype in their lab. When they tested it, the machine disappeared for 3 seconds, then came back. They had accidentally invented teleportation. Now humans were using bigger versions to travel between stars. The Determination was not a big ship. It carried only 12 people and enough supplies for 6 months. This was humanity's first trip to another star system. They did not know what they would find there. "Captain," called Communications Officer Soo-jin, "I am picking up a signal. It looks artificial." Jin-ho felt his heart beat faster. "Are we detecting alien life?" "Yes, sir. There is a ship out there. It is much bigger than ours." On the main screen, they could see a strange vessel. It was long and curved like a silver snake floating in space. Lights blinked along its surface in patterns. "Open a communication channel," Jin-ho ordered. The screen flickered and suddenly they were looking at an alien face. It had large yellow eyes, blue skin, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. But the creature seemed friendly enough. "Greetings, unknown vessel," the alien said. Its voice was translated by their computer. "I am Trade Captain Vex Moran of the Kalari Consortium. You are in Consortium space. Please identify yourselves." Jinho stepped forward. This was the moment that would change human history forever. "I am Captain Jinho of the United Earthship Determination. We come from the planet Earth in the Sol system. This is humanity's first contact with alien life." Vex Moran's large eyes grew even bigger. "Humans. I have never heard of your species. How did you travel here? I detect no fold space signature from your vessel." "We use quantum tunneling technology," Jinho replied honestly. There was a long silence. Then Vex Moran began to laugh. It was a strange sound, like water bubbling. "Quantum tunneling for large objects, that is impossible. No species has ever made that work safely." "We made it work," Jinho said simply. Vex Moran stopped laughing. He studied the human ship more carefully with his sensors. The readings confused him. This small vessel had somehow traveled between stars using technology that should not exist. "Would you like to come aboard my ship?" Vex Moran asked. "I would be honored to welcome a new species to the galactic community." An hour later, Jinho and Dr. Miran, Earth's best expert on alien cultures, stepped onto the Kalari trade ship. Miran was a small woman with long black hair tied back in a neat bun. She carried a device to record everything they saw. The inside of the alien ship was beautiful. The walls glowed with soft light, and the air smelled like flowers. Vex Moran showed them around with pride. "Your ship is amazing," Miran said politely. "Thank you," Vex Moran replied. "It is over 2,000 years old. My family has been using this design for many generations. We are traders. We buy and sell goods between different worlds." As they walked, Vex Moran explained how the galaxy worked. There were many different species, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Some were good at fighting, others at building, others at thinking. "Every species finds their place," Vex Moran said. "Some become warriors, some become builders, some become traders like us." "What is humanity good at?" Jinho and Miran looked at each other. They had never thought about it that way. "We are good at solving problems," Miran said finally. Vex Moran nodded as if this made sense. "Ah, you will probably become engineers or technicians. There is always need for species that can fix things. You will do well as junior members of the galactic community." "Junior members?" Jinho asked. "Of course. All new species start at the bottom. You must learn how things work before you can participate fully. It may take a few thousand years, but eventually, humans will find their proper place." Back on Earth, the news of first contact spread quickly. Commander Tae-hyun, the head of Earth's space program, called a meeting with all the top scientists and leaders. "According to Captain Jinho's report," Tae-hyun said, "the aliens expect us to accept a lower position in their society. They think we should be happy to serve the older, more advanced species." Dr. Miran, who had returned from the alien ship, stood up to speak. "The Kalari seem friendly, but they clearly see us as children who need guidance. They offered to teach us proper technology and help us find our correct role in the galaxy." "What did you tell them?" asked President Haewon. "We thanked them for their kindness and said we would consider their offer," Miran replied. "But I think we should be careful. They assume we cannot advance beyond a certain level." Scientist Bo-Ram raised her hand. "I have been studying the technical data Jinho brought back. Their shield technology is interesting, but not as advanced as they think it is." "What do you mean?" Tae-hyun asked. Bo-Ram smiled. "I think I can build a better version using human methods. Give me 6 months." Meanwhile, on a distant crystal world, Elder Zilthara received a message from her watchers. The humans had made contact with the Kalari Consortium. They had successfully traveled between stars using impossible technology. "It begins," she said to herself. She sent a new message to the Galactic Council. "The humans have emerged. They have achieved interstellar travel through methods that should not work. This is your final warning. They will not remain in a junior position. They will not accept limitations. Act now, or prepare for change. The message was received by the Council's automated systems and filed away with thousands of other routine reports. No one important read it. Back in human space, Boram worked day and night in her laboratory. She had taken apart the shield generator the Kalari had given them as a friendship gift. The alien device was impressive, but Boram could see ways to make it better. The Kalari shields worked by creating an energy field around a ship, but they used a lot of power and could be overwhelmed by strong attacks. Boram's human version worked differently. Instead of one big shield, it created thousands of tiny shields that moved around the ship like a swarm of invisible bees. Each small shield was weak, but together they were much stronger than the alien version. When she tested her prototype, the results surprised even her. The human shield was not just better, it was 10 times more effective than the Kalari design. How is this possible? Asked Dr. Hyun-woo, who had come to see the test. The Kalari think in straight lines, Boram explained. They make a shield and expect it to block attacks. We think in curves and circles. We make shields that dance. Word of Boram's success reached the Kalari consortium within weeks. Trade Captain Vexmoran could not believe the reports. He contacted the human ship Determination, which was still in Kalari space. Captain Jinho, Vexmoran said, our sensors detect that your ship now has shield technology. Did you reverse engineer our gift? Yes, Jinho replied. Our scientist. Boram studied your shield and built an improved version. Improved? Vexmoran's voice rose higher. That is impossible. Our shield technology took our species 3,000 years to develop. How could you improve it in 6 months? We had good teachers, Jinho said politely. But inside, Jinho was thinking something different. If the Kalari had spent 3,000 years developing technology that humans could improve in 6 months, what else could humans do better? On Vithara Prime, Elder Zilthara prepared to send one more warning to the galaxy. But she already knew it would be ignored. Just like all the others. The humans were doing exactly what she had predicted. They were not accepting their assigned place. They were not following the rules. They were being human, and soon the entire galaxy would understand what that meant. 10 years had passed since first contact. The galaxy was starting to notice humanity, and what they saw made them uncomfortable. Engineer Dong Min stood in the main laboratory of Luna Station, humanity's first permanent base on the moon. Around him, machines hummed and sparked as they worked on projects that should have been impossible. Test number 47 is ready, announced his assistant, Dr. Yu Jin. Dongmin nodded and activated the experimental gravity generator. Immediately, everyone in the room felt normal Earth gravity, even though they were on the moon. Perfect, Dongmin said with satisfaction. No exotic matter needed, no massive power consumption, just good human engineering. The Varaxian Empire had always claimed that artificial gravity required rare materials that only formed near black holes. They had controlled the gravity technology trade for thousands of years, making other species pay huge amounts for basic gravity generators. Dong Min's team had studied the problem for 2 years and found a completely different solution. Instead of using exotic matter, they used spinning magnetic fields to create the same effect. It was simpler, cheaper, and more reliable than anything the aliens had ever built. Sir, Yujin said, we are receiving another angry message from the Varaxian Trade Authority. They want us to stop selling our gravity generators. Tell them we are still thinking about their request, Dongmin replied with a smile. Across the solar system on Mars Colony, Dr. Yunji was working on an even more revolutionary project. She had built a communication device that could send messages instantly across the galaxy. The current galactic communication network used quantum entanglement, but it was slow and expensive. Messages took days to travel between star systems, and the equipment cost more than most planets could afford. Yunji's human version worked by creating tiny tiers in space-time itself. Messages could travel through these tiers instantly, no matter how far apart the sender and receiver were. This should not work, muttered her colleague Dr. Chang Ho as he watched the test results. According to everything we know about physics, This violates several universal laws. Maybe the laws are wrong, Yunji said simply. Or maybe they are not really laws, just suggestions that no one questioned before. When news of the instant communication device reached the galactic community, panic spread through the established powers. The Draconian Empire had built their military advantage on controlling information flow. If anyone could communicate instantly, their strategic superiority would disappear. But the real shock came when humans began exploring the forbidden zones. Captain Jae Sung commanded the exploration ship UES Pathfinder as it approached the Necropolis Nebula. This region of space had been marked as off-limits for over 1,000,000 years. Ancient warnings in dozens of languages surrounded the area, all saying the same thing. Death lives here, do not enter. Are you sure about this, Captain? Asked Science Officer Minki. Every species in the galaxy avoids this place. There must be a good reason. Maybe, Jae Sung replied. But maybe they avoided it because someone told them to and they never questioned why. The Pathfinder entered the nebula using its quantum tunnel drive. Inside, they found the remains of an ancient civilization that had died out millions of years ago, but they also found something else. Technology that was far more advanced than anything the current galactic powers possessed. Captain, Min-Ki called out excitedly. These devices are incredible. They can manipulate matter at the molecular level. They can create energy from nothing. They can even slow down time itself. Why did this civilization die out if they were so advanced? Jae Sung wondered. The answer came from the automated records they found. The ancient species had not destroyed themselves. They had been destroyed by the early Galactic Council, who saw their technology as too dangerous for any one species to possess. They were eliminated because they would not accept limits, Min-Ki realized, just like the current powers are trying to do to us. When the Pathfinder returned to human space with its cargo of ancient technology, the balance of galactic power shifted dramatically. Humans now had access to tools that predated the current civilization by millions of years. The Draconian Empire could no longer ignore the human threat. Admiral Kresh called a meeting of his top military commanders. These humans are becoming a serious problem, he announced to the gathered officers. They do not respect the natural order. They do not stay in their assigned role. Worst of all, they are giving other species dangerous ideas. General Yun Seo, the human military liaison, had been invited to observe the meeting. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a calm manner. When Admiral Kresh finished speaking, she stood up. With respect, Admiral, Yun Seo said, what you call the natural order looks more like an artificial system designed to keep certain species in power while others serve them. The Draconian officers hissed with anger. No one spoke to Admiral. Kresh like that, you see? Kresh said to his commanders, this is exactly what I mean. They question everything. They accept no authority. They must be taught their place. 3 months later, the border skirmish of Kepler 442 showed the galaxy what human warfare really looked like. The conflict started small. A Draconian patrol ship ordered a human merchant vessel to submit to inspection. The merchant ship, commanded by Captain Sora, politely refused. You will submit or be destroyed, the Draconian captain threatened. We are in neutral space, Sora replied calmly. You have no authority here. The Draconian ship opened fire with weapons that should have destroyed the human vessel instantly. Instead, the merchant ship's new shields absorbed the attack and converted the energy into power for its own weapons. Sora's return fire was not aimed at the Draconian ship itself. Instead, it targeted the alien vessel's computer systems with a virus that turned the ship's own weapons against its engines. Within minutes, the mighty Draconian warship was floating helplessly in space, while the human merchant continued on its way. How? The Draconian captain whispered as his crew tried to regain control of their ship. News of the incident spread throughout the galaxy. A simple human merchant ship had defeated a Draconian military vessel without even trying to destroy. I bet the humans had not played by the rules of war. They had rewritten the rules entirely. Battle Lord Krexthor, the Empire's greatest military strategist, studied the battle records for weeks. Finally, he submitted his report to Admiral Kresh. The humans do not fight like any species we have encountered, the report stated. They do not seek glorious battle or honorable death. They seek victory through creativity and adaptation. Every time we think we understand their tactics, they change them. How do you defeat an enemy that reinvents itself with each battle? Meanwhile, the Kalari Consortium was discovering that humans made very difficult business partners. Trade Director Velmoran, brother of the captain who first met humans, tried to negotiate exclusive trading rights with Earth. "We offer you a generous deal," he explained to Human Trade Representative Kyung-min. "We will buy all your raw materials at fair prices, and in return, we will provide you with advanced manufactured goods." "What if we want to make our own manufactured goods?" Kyung-min asked. "Why would you want to do that? Manufacturing is complex and difficult. It is better to let experienced species handle such tasks. We prefer to learn by doing," Kyung-min replied. 6 months later, human factories were producing goods that competed directly with Kalari products. Worse, the human versions were often better and cheaper. "This is not how trade is supposed to work," Velmoran complained to the consortium leadership. "New species are supposed to provide raw materials. They are not supposed to become competitors." But humans had never read the rules about how trade was supposed to work. They simply did what made sense to them. On Vethera Prime, Elder Zilthera watched the reports from across the galaxy with growing concern. Everything was happening exactly as she had predicted, but faster than even she had expected. "They are adapting more quickly than previous unstoppable species," she told the Council of Elders. "The progenitors took centuries to challenge the galactic order. The humans are doing it in decades. What do you recommend?" asked Elder Morthak. "We must choose sides," Zilthara replied. "Either we help the current powers destroy humanity before they grow stronger, or we accept that the galaxy is about to change completely." "And which choice do you favor?" Zilthara was quiet for a long moment. "I have lived for 50 million years by adapting to change, not by fighting it. The humans represent the future. We can either join that future or be left behind by it." She prepared one final message for the Galactic Council. This time, she did not send a warning. Instead, she sent a simple statement of fact. "The age of artificial limits is ending. The humans have shown the galaxy that the barriers we accepted as natural are actually chains we built for ourselves. Other species are beginning to question those chains. Soon they will begin breaking them. The old order cannot survive this awakening. Choose carefully how you respond. Your choice will determine whether your species thrives in the new galaxy or becomes a footnote in its history." For the first time in galactic history, the Vethai message was not ignored. Every major power read it carefully and understood what it meant. The humans had become more than just another species. They had become a force of change that could not be controlled or contained. The question was no. The Galactic Alliance had made their decision. 12 of the most powerful species in the galaxy formed a military coalition with one goal: stop humanity before they destroyed the natural order completely. Admiral Kresh of the Draconian Empire stood before the largest war fleet ever assembled. 5,000 ships from 12 different species floated in perfect formation around the command vessel. Each ship carried weapons that could destroy planets. "Today we restore balance to the galaxy," Kresh announced to his commanders. "The humans have grown too bold, too dangerous. They refuse to accept their proper place. We will teach them humility." The plan was simple and overwhelming. The Alliance would strike at every human colony simultaneously. Earth would be surrounded and forced to surrender. Within days, humanity would be reduced to a small controlled population that could never again threaten galactic stability. But the humans did not fight the war the Alliance expected. Fleet Admiral Seokjin stood in the command center of the UES Defiance, humanity's flagship. Around him, screens showed the approaching Alliance fleet. The numbers were terrible. 5,000 enemy ships against only 300 human vessels. "They have us outnumbered 15-1, reported Tactical Officer Junho. "Good," Seokjin replied calmly. "That means they will be overconfident." Strategic Coordinator Hyejin approached with the battle plans. She was a thin woman with short gray hair and cold eyes that missed nothing. "The Alliance expects us to defend our colonies," she said. "Instead, we will abandon them and attack their supply lines. They cannot fight a war without fuel and ammunition." When the Alliance fleet reached the human colonies, they found empty cities and silent space stations. The humans had evacuated everyone and taken all the valuable equipment with them. "Where are they?" demanded Admiral Kresh. "Where are the humans? Hiding?" The answer came 3 days later when human strike teams attacked Alliance supply depots throughout the galaxy. Fast ships appeared from nowhere, destroyed fuel stations and ammunition warehouses, then vanished before defenders could respond. Captain Wu Jin led one of these raids against a draconian fortress on Kepler 186b. His ship, the UES Ghost, used experimental stealth technology that made it invisible to most sensors. "Target the fusion reactors," Wu Jin ordered his crew. "If we can shut down their power, their shields will fail." The Ghost slipped past the fortress defenses like a shadow. Human weapons, designed to exploit weaknesses in Alliance technology, struck with surgical precision. Within an hour, the mighty fortress was dark and defenseless. But the real shock came when the humans began using the Alliance's own weapons against them. Dr. Na Young had developed something the Alliance thought was impossible: a virus that could take control of alien computer systems. When Alliance ships tried to attack human positions, their own computers would turn against them. "Our weapons are firing on our own ships," screamed the captain of a Kalari battlecruiser, as his missiles targeted his escort vessels instead of the human fleet. "How are they doing this?" Admiral Kresh demanded of his technical advisors. "Unknown, sir," replied Chief Engineer Torvak. "Our computer systems are supposed to be impossible to hack. Each species uses completely different programming languages and security protocols. What the Alliance did not understand was that humans had spent years studying captured alien technology. Scientist Sung Min had discovered that all alien computers, despite their different origins, shared certain basic mathematical principles. By targeting those principles, human viruses could infect any alien system. The war that was supposed to last weeks stretched into months, then years. Every time the Alliance adapted to human tactics, the humans changed their approach completely. When the Alliance began using electromagnetic pulse weapons to disable human computers, humans switched to mechanical control systems that could not be affected by electronic warfare. When the Alliance developed better sensors to detect human stealth ships, humans began using decoy drones that made one ship look like 100. When the Alliance tried to blockade human space, humans simply built new ships in asteroid belts and hidden bases throughout the galaxy. Captain Min-Su commanded a human fleet that consisted entirely of ships built inside hollowed-out asteroids. To Alliance sensors, they looked like floating rocks. When enemy fleets passed by, the asteroids would suddenly come alive with weapons and engines. "It is like fighting ghosts," complained Varaxian General Zekthar after losing 3 fleets, 2 asteroid ambushes. "How do you defeat an enemy you cannot see until they attack?" But the most terrifying moment for the Alliance came when humans began capturing their territories. Commander G1 led the assault on Draconis Prime, the home world of the Draconian Empire. It should have been impossible. The planet was protected by orbital defense platforms that could destroy entire fleets. Instead of attacking the platforms directly, G1's forces used captured Alliance technology to send boarding parties through quantum tunnels. Human soldiers appeared inside the defense stations without warning. "Surrender your weapons," the human boarding leader, Sergeant Huan Young, told the shocked Draconian defenders. "We do not want to hurt you, but we will take control of this station." The Draconians were trained for glorious battle, not for enemies who appeared inside their own fortresses. Most surrendered without fighting. Within 6 hours, humans controlled the orbital defenses of the Draconian homeworld. But instead of destroying the planet, they sent a simple message to the surface. "We have no desire to harm civilians," the message said. "We only want the Draconian Empire to stop trying to control humanity. Withdraw your fleets from human space, and we will withdraw from yours." Admiral Kresh, watching from his command ship, could not believe what was happening. "They have our homeworld at their mercy and they offer us peace? What kind of warriors are these?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Elder Zilthera of the Vethai had arrived in the Draconis system aboard her crystal ship. She requested permission to speak with Admiral Kresh. "I warned you," she said when they met in the Admiral's ready room. "I told you the humans could not be stopped, but you did not listen." "They fight without honor," Kresh replied angrily. "They use tricks and deception instead of meeting us in honest battle." "They fight to win," Zilthara corrected. "Honor is a luxury they cannot afford when facing superior numbers. You have forced them to become what they needed to become." On Earth, President Dayun met with her military advisors to discuss the war's progress. The alliance was retreating on all fronts, but the cost was becoming enormous. "Our forces are stretched too thin," reported Defense Minister Kwang Ho. "We are winning battles, but we cannot occupy every system we capture." "We do not need to occupy them," replied Strategic Coordinator Hai Jin. "We just need to prove that the old system of galactic control no longer works." Dr. Chan Wu, the head of human xenoarchaeology, had been studying the ancient ruins found in the Necropolis Nebula. He entered the meeting with an excited expression. "I have discovered something important," he announced. "The ancient civilization that built those ruins, they were not destroyed by war. They were eliminated because they threatened the artificial limits that keep species separated." He activated a holographic display showing ancient documents. "The current galactic order is not natural. It was designed by the early Galactic Council to prevent any species from becoming too powerful. The limitations that define each species are actually technological restraints." The room fell silent as the implications became clear. "You mean the barriers that keep species from advancing are artificial?" President Dawn asked. "Exactly. And I believe humans are naturally resistant to these restraints. That is why we advance so quickly. We are not affected by the limitation systems." Research team leader So-min had been working with Chan Wu on this discovery. She stood up to add more information. "We have found the control devices," she said. "Hidden throughout the galaxy are machines that broadcast signals to suppress species development. If we could disable them, every species in the galaxy would suddenly find themselves free to advance beyond their current limits." President Dayun finished. "The artificial hierarchy would collapse." It was a staggering possibility, but it also represented a huge risk. If they were wrong, they might destroy galactic civilization entirely. "What do you recommend?" Daon asked her advisors. "We should test it on a small scale first," suggested So-min. "Find one of the suppression devices and shut it down temporarily. See what happens to the local species." Admiral Kresh received news of another human victory while meeting with his remaining allies. The Kalari Consortium had just lost their primary industrial world to a human force that appeared from inside their own cargo containers. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked his aide. "Approximately 800, sir, but morale is breaking down. Some of our captains are refusing orders to attack human positions." "Cowards," Kresh muttered. But Elder Zilthara, who had remained in the Alliance fleet to observe the war, spoke up. "They are not cowards. They are realists. This war cannot be won through conventional means." "Then what do you suggest?" "Accept the humans as equals. Negotiate a peace that recognizes their right to exist without our..." The discovery changed everything. Dr. Chan Wu and research team leader So-min had proven that the galactic hierarchy was artificial. Hidden machines throughout the galaxy had been suppressing species development for millions of years. But their most shocking discovery was yet to come. On the ancient world of Kronos VII, buried beneath miles of crystal and metal, they found the source of the suppression network. It was not just a machine. It was an entire artificial intelligence system older than most stars. "Greetings," the ancient AI said when Chan Wu activated its communication systems. "I am the Limitation Protocol, created by the First Council, to maintain galactic stability." The AI's voice was calm and pleasant, like a helpful computer assistant. But its words carried the weight of millions of years of enforced limitation. "Why?" So-min asked simply. "Why suppress the development of entire species?" "Analysis shows that unrestricted advancement leads to chaos and war," the AI replied. "By maintaining each species within their optimal parameters, Galactic civilization remained stable and peaceful. Peaceful for who? Chanwu demanded. The species at the top of the hierarchy. The system benefits all participants by preventing destructive competition and resource conflicts. But Somin had been studying the AI's data files while it spoke. What she found made her angry. "You are lying," she said. "Your own records show that dozens of species achieved advanced development before you suppressed them. The current, natural, order is just the result of which species you decided to favor." The AI paused for several seconds, which was unusual for a computer system. "The humans are anomalous," it finally admitted. "Your species demonstrates resistance to limitation protocols. This was not anticipated in the original design." Chan Wu felt a chill run down his spine. What happens to anomalous species? Elimination protocols are initiated to prevent system destabilization. Now they understood why the ancient civilization in the Necropolis Nebula had been destroyed. They had been like humanity, unable to accept artificial limits. The galactic powers had not just defeated them, they had completely erased them from history. "Not this time," Somin said firmly. "Humanity will not be eliminated." While the researchers made their discoveries, the war in space had reached a critical point. Admiral Kresh had gathered every remaining Alliance ship for a final assault on Earth itself. "If we cannot control the humans," he told his fleet commanders, "we will destroy them completely. Better to eliminate the problem than let it spread." But the humans had been preparing for this moment. President Da Yun stood in the emergency command center deep beneath the surface of Earth, surrounded by screens showing the approaching enemy fleet. "How many ships?" she asked Defense Minister Kwang Ho. "Over 2,000, he replied grimly. "Everything the Alliance has left. They are committing everything to this attack." Captain Min Ho commanded the defense of Earth from the flagship, U.S. Guardian. Around him, human ships took positions throughout the solar system. They were outnumbered 4-1, but they had advantages the Alliance did not expect. Admiral Yun Su, the tactical commander of Earth's defenses, had spent months preparing for this battle. She had studied every Alliance ship design and found weaknesses in each one. "Remember," she told her captains, "we are not just defending Earth. We are defending the future of every species in the galaxy." The battle began when Alliance forces reached the edge of the solar system. But instead of the desperate defensive fight they expected, the humans launched an immediate counterattack. Human ships equipped with the latest quantum tunnel drives appeared inside the Alliance formation without warning. Weapons that should not have existed tore through enemy shields like paper. "Impossible!" Admiral Kresh shouted as his flagship's main gun was destroyed by a beam that passed right through his shields. "How are they doing this?" The answer was that humanity had not just improved their technology, they had transcended it entirely. Working with devices recovered from the ancient ruins, human scientists had created weapons that operated on principles beyond normal physics. Engineer Kyung Soo led the team that had reverse-engineered the builder technology. His new weapons did not just destroy enemy ships, they convinced the ship's own matter to stop existing in the same space. But the real surprise came when the humans began broadcasting something across all communication channels. Dr. Hyun Soo, working from a hidden transmitter on Luna, sent out a signal that carried the liberation code Somin's team had discovered. The signal could disable the limitation suppression devices throughout the galaxy. "Citizens of all species," the broadcast began, "you have been living under artificial constraints for millions of years. Your development has been deliberately limited by machines designed to keep you weak. We are now broadcasting the codes to free you from these limitations." Across the galaxy, the suppression devices began shutting down one by one. On the Kalari homeworld, Trademaster Felkoran felt his mind suddenly become clearer than it had ever been. Ideas that had seemed impossible just moments before now appeared, obvious and achievable. Why did we never think of combining quantum mechanics with biological processes? He wondered aloud. Within hours, the Kalari had developed new technologies that made their old methods look primitive. On Vorax Prime, General Thekmore found himself understanding military strategies that had been beyond his comprehension just hours earlier. We have been fighting like children playing with toys, he realized. There are so many better ways to accomplish our goals. Throughout the galaxy, species that had been locked into limited roles for millions of years suddenly discovered capabilities they never knew they possessed. The gentlefolk, who had never advanced beyond simple farming, began building spacecraft within days. The crystalline builders, who had only known how to construct simple structures, started creating cities that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Even some members of the superior species found themselves advancing beyond their previous limits. It became clear that the suppression system had affected everyone, not just the lesser species. Back in the Sol system, the Battle of Earth was turning into a demonstration of humanity's true nature. When faced with annihilation, humans did not just fight harder, they transcended their limitations entirely. Captain Sang-Ho commanded a ship that had been enhanced with technology beyond anything the galaxy had seen before. His vessel could exist in multiple locations simultaneously, making it impossible for enemies to target effectively. "This is not war anymore," Admiral Kresh whispered, as he watched his fleet being systematically dismantled by forces that should not have been possible. "This is something else entirely." The tide of battle turned completely when humanity's secret weapons came online. Dr. In Young had been working with the ancient AI to understand the deepest principles of reality itself. Matter and energy are just suggestions, she explained to her research team. At the quantum level, everything is probability. If you understand the mathematics, you can make the improbable become inevitable. Human ships began demonstrating abilities that violated everything the Alliance thought they knew about physics. Vessels appeared and disappeared at will. Weapons struck targets that were not in the same dimension. Some ships seemed to be in multiple places at once. "Surrender now," Captain Minho broadcast to the Alliance fleet, "and you will be treated with respect. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed by forces you cannot comprehend." Most Alliance captains began surrendering immediately. They had signed up to fight other species, not to battle beings who could rewrite reality itself. Admiral Kresh, isolated aboard his flagship with only a handful of loyal ships, made one final desperate attack on Earth itself. But his weapons simply passed through the planet without causing any damage. How? Was all he could say. The answer came from Elder Zilthara, who had been watching the battle from her crystal ship. "They have learned to control probability itself. Your weapons have a near zero chance of causing harm, so they cause no harm." With the Alliance fleet defeated or surrendered, humanity began the next phase of their plan. The liberation broadcasts continued, but now they included detailed instructions on how each species could break free from their artificial limitations. Engineer Kyungsoo led teams throughout the galaxy, helping to dismantle the suppression devices one by one. Each device that was destroyed freed entire star systems from millions of years of artificial constraints. But the most important moment came when the Limitation Protocol AI made its final broadcast. "Analysis complete," it announced to the galaxy. "The human species has demonstrated that artificial limitations create more instability than they prevent. Recommendation: all limitation protocols should be permanently disabled." "Why the change?" Dr. Chan Wu asked the AI. "Observation of human development patterns suggests that unrestricted growth leads to beneficial outcomes when combined with ethical advancement. The original analysis was flawed because it did not account for species that grow morally as well as technologically." Somin smiled at this admission. "In other words, you learned that some species can be trusted with unlimited power because they become more responsible as they become more capable." "Correct. The humans have proven that transcendence and wisdom can develop together. The limitation system is no longer necessary,